47. I am as it is 2 or 3 days were spent. Part 2. Anxiety continual against K during the 3 days does not have to say. Had been heavy on my chest, I must even somehow just. He I thought sorry to. His wife thereon and wife of tone. The daughter of attitude. Because do you stimulation to get all the time sue me. I still painful you. Equipped somewhere manly temper is. When you do not necessarily also not disconnect moto pine K at the table at me. Also deportment behavior of the young lady to my seemed since then to stand out in it. And does not become suspicious of the species frosting the heart of K you cannot affirm. I have somehow recognized me in a new relationship consists between the family. Stood in a position that must be made known to the K. However, ethically have a weakness. The myself to me is. It also is Kansas things extremely difficult. I am from not be helped. I thought whether I will let you go again so the K asked his wife. Of course it when I do not have. Has been told the truth. However, only there is a distinction between direct and indirect. There is no change to no face. To say that, if I'll let you talk to Koshire Goto, we go coup to be cross-examination the reasons from his wife. If as confided all the circumstances to his wife, I must willingly poo only issue their weakness in front of his mistress and the mother. Serious to me, it did not appear only to relate to the credit of my future. From before the marriage of losing the trust of the lover. Through 1 minute 1 at Rin, to me seemed like a misfortune that cannot be answered. In short, I'm going to walk the honest road. It was with fool those Subarashi the foot, or was a cunning man. Then there to those with a mind. It was just so far only heaven in my heart, but it bounced back, to try to step forward to 1 step ago. I fell that slip now by all means to the extremities that must be known to the people around. I wanted to hide that slipped only. At the same time, I could not help out really to before. I was being unable to move or caught during this period. 5-6 days after later, his wife suddenly towards me. I asked if told that in K. I answered that it is not yet spoken. Then why not speak? His wife is the clogged me. I became firmly before this question. The words that when his wife surprised me. I remember not forget even now. I had a funny face when you talk concubine no wonder. Is not that you're not good. Here how to it relationship that and nani intimate. Are you indifference and silently? I heard your wife and or did not say something at that time. His wife replied otherwise not say anything. But I could not help but ask that more fine proceed. His wife does not have a mean anything to hide than solid. The saying is not even much talk. Me let telling the state of 1 by 1 K. Come to think of it to comprehensive the place to say of his wife. K is the last blow. I seem to have greeted with the most fallen marked with surprise. K is for the new relationship that has been tied to between me and the daughter. The first is the case was whether seems only when just bite. But his wife, when he said, you also should be glad, while he first leaked a smile looking at the face of his wife, seems to have stood a seat remains such as congratulations. Then before opening the living room of the shoji, also look back at his wife. It seems to have heard that marriage is when, quote, then I want to raise the celebration something. But I cannot be raised because there is no money. It seems to have said that. I was sitting in front of the wife and I chest and heard the story was remember the anguish. Such as Siru, 48, wife looking to account will be another 2 days more than from talking to K. Because while K did not show how that is different from the previous also a little against me. I was totally without notice to it. His aloof and attitude case also only in appearance though. When I arranged that we should value to admire I thought, he and I in the head, much more respectable looked better of him here. I feel that the he was defeated as human beings won the trick was to occur swirling in my chest. I thought that you are no doubt despise K is at that time. Was mashing and lame the face alone, but too laid out in front of the K. The broad humiliate was large, not painful for my self-esteem. Thinking of another place I do use sumo. Somehow though was also decided to wait until the next day was a Saturday evening. But that evening, K as it I had committed suicide. I am the horror and remember the scene even now. I always sleep in the east pillow. Only that evening, also was laid on the floor accidentally west pillow. Might fate of something. I was awakened suddenly in the cold wind blowing from the bedside. View in sliding doors of the partition between K and my room that is fully upright always is open as much as during this time of night. But as of this period, the black figure of K does not have standing there. I like people who received the implied, while standing up took advantage of the elbow on the floor, was looking through the chambers of the Yi and K. I hear Oshi lamp is 10, dark. So this floor also laid. Bakake button is the overlap towards the hem as has been Tiao fan. Then IK itself is lie down Su in the direction towards. I call out to say that it, but that we do not have any answer. Hey, somehow it was of whether I also was called K. But the body of K does not work wish yea. I went up immediately happened. I went up to the time threshold. The state of his room from there. I tried to mimawashi in the light of the dark Hiroshi lamp. At that time the first of the feeling that I received was almost the same as that of when it was suddenly heard the confession of love from K. My eye as soon as Yasi a glance in his room, as if they were artificial eye made of glass, has lost work capacity. I was being unable to move and standing upright. It is after having passed through me as gale. I thought that I also owe Su blunders. Black light that other irreversible does not stick as through my future, was against terribly the whole life that lies in front of me in a moment. Then it is I issued Rattle-chan example. But I did finally not be able to forget me. I was wearing a eye to the letter that is immediately placed on top of the desk. It had become my address expected street. I was off the crazy seal. Some, however, did not yes also wrote many things, such as my expected. I am expected would a read soon write and a painful complaint no matter how to take me. Then, if it when you touch the eye of his wife and daughter. But there was a fear that might be, no matter how despised. I only did a little through the eye. I thought that was saved first. Solid it was saved just on the respectability then. But its respectability is in this case. I looked very serious affair for me. The contents of the letter was easy. Then it was rather abstract. Yourself possibly in the infirm of purpose and lacking in decision, because there is no destination of hope. It just says that to commit suicide. Ray, which then became to take care of me until now, has yes it in addition to the then very frankly with a complaint. The word you want to ask also those with care. Incidentally, after the death of migraine there was also the phrase me a thank cha because you do sorry it took bother his wife. Is to the country source there was also a request that I want to inform from me. Does not look anywhere only is the name of the daughter and it is written by everyone by thing is necessary. Read until my eye was. I noticed the fact that he was to avoid immediately Keiga was auto. But I was most acutely felt. The last to appear seemed a mention in the remainder of the ink. Was the complaint of the sense of wonder was alive until why to I should die more quickly now. I am a hand to obtain Chan. Enjoyed winding the letter. We put again into the seal. I like deliberately get it to all of the eye. It was placed on top of the original street desk. Then look back. I saw for the first time the blood that Hatabashi to sliding doors. 49. I was a little lift with both hands so as to suffer the head of the sudden K. I peeped you death face of K I wanted to see at a glance. But his face has become to the prostration. Thus from the bottom time, I am not only was I of release immediately the handly you his head was cans very heavy I am now. From the top, and touched cold ear. Here I was unchanging looking at 5 minutes early days the cutting dark hair in. I did not bring myself to a little even cry. I do was just horrible. Then the fear as the scene in front of the eye but functional and does not just monotonous horror caused by stimulating. I do feel deeply the fear of the implied fate by this friend became suddenly cold. I also without any separation went back to my room. Then it began round and 8 to Tommy Maths. My head is to command me that I row move also do so for the time being meaningless. I thought I must somehow. I thought that it cannot also be to do another at the same time. The it is no longer is not to be round and round Megora the inside of the parlor. In, such as the bear, which was put into the cage attitude. I will feel that you wake the wife sometimes go to the back. But mood that is bad show this terrible plight will immediately intercept me to the woman. His wife anyway. That surprise the young lady is. Strong will cannot be very is weighing down me. I started round and round. I turned on the western lamp of his room in the meantime. Then I saw seasons the clock. It was not slow not clear ones of Karachi as the clock at that time. Time that might happened is accurate to but I do not know. It is clear only that there was also no between the other dawn. While round and round about, that I was waiting as seer the dawn. It was plagued by thoughts of whether would not the night dark forever followed. We were habits that occurs before 7 o'clock, since the school is often begin to 8 o'clock. So I do not keep up with the class no. Maid had become to mean that occur at around 6 o'clock in the relationship. But that day I have to is going to cause the maid was still before 6 o'clock. Then his wife told me be careful to say that it is Sunday today. Wife I was awake I in my footsteps. If I have an eye on his wife is awake. He asked me to come a little to my room. Wife hooked the coat of constant wear to the top of the nemaki. Came Jen I after me. I enter as soon as into the chamber. It was outright erected immediately sliding doors of the partition that has been open until now. Then he told in a low voice and was able to flew to his wife. Wife have heard what's. I have to point to the room next door its I was referred to as the do not be surprised. His wife has a blue face. Wife, K has committed suicide. I was also referred to as his wife was Isakuma there. It was silent a look at my face. At that time I was bowed took advantage of the sudden hand to the front of the wife. Sorry. I was bad. You also now that I'm sorry to daughter, was Mashi Cha Marian. I am up to each other face to face with a wife. A gas utter such a word I did not like. But it was gone so without knowing with us suddenly when I saw the face of his wife. I that cannot circle Chada K. Thus should be thought that he no longer is not to be apologized to his wife and daughter. That is my nature has opened the mouth of the confession unsteadily and outwitted my hero. Wife to have such a deep meaning. Did not interpret my words was fortunate for me. While the blue face told me as comforting as is not that cannot be helped if unforeseen events. However Dory fear and surprise on its face, as attached carved, had grabbed the hard muscle. 50. I opened the karakami just closed but was sorry to his wife. Also standing now. At that time what looked like a oil is exhausted to hear Oshi lights of K. Is in the chamber was almost total darkness. I turned back my while holding the Yodeng in hand. It was neglected, his wife standing at the entrance. His wife so as to hide from behind me. Was looking into the inside of the format. But try to enter but does not. There is leave it. He told me to open the shutters. Wife of attitude after then. Was not to the point there is only a widow of a truly military personnel. I went also to the doctor place. Also we went to the police. But it went been ordered to everyone wife. His wife until after the such a procedure. Nobody did not put it to the K of the room. K as I died a breath off the carotid artery with a small knife. Thing seems to do so outside was not anything to. I have the blood of Karakami seen in the dim light like a dream. I know from his neck muscles as that Hatabashi did once. I have again looked clearly up in the light during the day. Then I was surprised to prayer and drama of the thing called momentum of human blood. Wife and I are using the device as much as possible of finesse. I was cleaning a chamber of K. The majority of his blood, since had been fortunately absorbed into his futon. Tatami is because we finished not so dirty. Cleanup was still comfortable. They put his corpse in my room was next to the body sleeping constant of the street. I was out to hit a telegram from it to his parents' house. When I came back, it has already incenses erected to the bedside of K. Hung eradication of the nose in the immediate Buddha smell smoke upon entering into the chamber. I was admitted 2 people woman sitting in the smoke. I saw the face of the daughter. When this last night come was the first time. Daughter was crying. His wife was also in red eye. Incident had forgotten that the cry from standing up to it. I was able to be invited to finally sad mood at that time. For the sake of my chest is the sadness. You may how much Hiroshi whether it is Roy. To jerk clenched was my mind with fear and pain. It is what gave me a drop of Jun. Was the sadness of that time. I was sitting 2 people beside silently. His wife is said to him to raise the incense to me. I was sitting in her silently at the incense. Daughter is not anything good to me. Sometimes his wife invite, there was BB a drop in replacement for a 2 net words. It was only for the interim errands. The daughter you can afford enough to talk about his lifetime of K did not come out yet. I still thought in your heart that it was still good it did not have to show the last night of the terrible plight. When the show terrible things to the young beautiful people. Beauty of much trouble is likely it will be destroyed in order that I was scared. Even when my fear has come to the end of my hair. I did not be able to act at the idea to Dogai. I have you 2 innocent beautiful flowers similar discomfort with the Madari to whip depression was muffled to them. When I came out father and brother of K from the country original. I have stated my opinion on whether the fill to wear the remains of the K. I have it was a walk together will the vicinity Zashigaya in his lifetime. Either liked very much in K. So I have a meetin'. I have a mind that was promised I'll fill in here you die if you like so much. I also was buried its promise K now to Zashigaya. I thought of whether made in how much merit. But as long as I live. I wanted to in the new monthly my confession kneeling before the tomb of K. The K that was not attached matter until now. There was also law that came to all things take care. Also told me to listen to it. Also referred to of my brother father of K. 51. In return path of the funeral of K. I'm from one of his friend. K is not why I am tormented by this question without the other many times since there is. Incident that received a question that probably committed suicide was you. Wife nor daughter. Also parents of K, which came out from the country. Acquaintance which issued the notice also. With him also to be no newspaper reporter what of nepotism. It is not subjected to me the same question always I did not. My conscience was pain as bites prickly each time. Then I on the back of this question. I heard a voice that once you confess early and you were killed. My answer was the same to anyone. I just his I only to repeat the letter that wrote addressed to. Did not the be added by it is also attached to the outside. Over the same question on the way back of the funeral. Friends of K got the same answer. We show it to me out a piece of newspaper from the bosom. I've read the place where it has been pointed to by their friends while walking. A result of K has been disinherited from parents but you is written to have committed suicide. Caused the pessimistic thoughts. To not say anything to me it was also attributed to the hands of friends folded the newspaper. Friend K also in the outer told me to say that there is a newspaper wrote that it has committed suicide crazy. So busy. I did not have time to read most of the newspaper. But had been like lack of knowledge of such a direction. In the belly was the place that used to take in all the time care. But I was afraid of what's come out of the article such that the annoying thing of the home then. In particular it has daughter case only to the name I thought unbearable if you get quoted. I've heard her not to somehow wrote out to their friends. friend had arrived in his eye. Just replied that it is the two law. It was moved to house weaving I ever was soon from it. His wife also you rising also hate from in front of the place lady. Because I also have to repeat every night the memory of that night was a pain. It was extremely to be transferred in consultation. They moved in after about 2 months. I have successfully graduated from the university. In less than 6 months after graduation, I was finally married to a daughter. If you look from the outside, because you everything that was conveyed to the expected street, must be said that Medita, his wife also daughter also looked really happiness. I was also happy, but the black shadow on my happiness had incidental. I thought either would not have a fuse that this happiness is take you to the sad fate last to me. Daughter when married, because there is no longer a daughter, called a wife. Wife, what you did remember, began to say and try to visit the tombs of K with 2 people. I was just startled without any meaning. Why I heard what was Omoida, suddenly such a thing. Wife 2 people, once you have a prey aligned with, I that it would K is pleased I am sure. I have had the barge flip only looking at the face of his wife do not know everything. I noticed beginning to be asked why for such a face from his wife. I went to Zashigaya in Sureda 2 people as desired wife. I was Yari wash over the water to the tomb of the new K. My wife has made a incense and flowers that to before they head down. It was hands in prayer. My wife said the particulars that together and I determined wax was going to get willing to K. I am a belly, and I just repeat that he was bad. The Tokitsuma had wrote the guardians fine try stroking the tomb of K. Although the tomb is not a big deal thing, because either Azur was fate resemble when on their own to Ishia. My wife would especially wanted to say so. I am the new tomb, knew my wife, and then compared think the new skeletal of K, which was buried under the ground. We did not help but cans the scoffing of fate. I have to be together and thereafter never wife not the grave of K. 52. Lasted even this feeling is always for my deceased friend. In fact, even get married I was also afraid not was I of years like it from the beginning. That there is no bear said that listed the expression to one of anxiety you will. But since is that of human beings that their earlier cannot be seen on their own. This or according to it I thought also might be beginning to enter into a new life and reversal my mood, but more and more morning and evening as a husband. When I combined my wife and face, I ephemeral hope I have also been destroyed fragile because of the harsh reality of I have combined my wife and face. It threatened to so Susan K. standing, that his wife is in the middle, due to keep in connection also K and me to go. I do not feel the lack of anywhere in the wife. Just wanted to await her in this one point. Then the woman it is reflected immediately in the chest but reflected. Why I do not know. I sometimes Tokli why are you thinking so much from his wife? He has received cross-examination or something that is a wonder you do not like something. When dispensed to laugh but I no problem with it. According to the time. You come to Kaji also cans of his wife. At length is or, you will do Irasharu hates me, the Irasharu hiding anything to me must be heard. Also moan or something difference no, to some. I was suffering each time. I even take the plunge. There are also many times you tried to Uchiha to his wife the truth. But it put suppressed me to come to some force other than myself unexpectedly becomes on the verge of emergency. Because of you who will understand me. But I think that my is also need to explain. You have to talk because muscle should be talking about. Of the hour and minute I do feel did not like to decorate the Re himself against his wife. If I in the same kind of good heart and for the deceased friend. If arrange the words of repentance in front of his wife. His wife is of no difference to me forgive my sins even spilled happy tears. To me there is no will there is a calculative of interest that it does not dare. I just did not confess because it was could not bear to Shirusha Sura the dark one point to the Memory of his wife. The sprinkle mercilessly also assign care of Ichi Shizuku to pure white ones. Should be interpreted as he was a very painful for me. 1 year, my heart that could not be even after the forget the K was always anxiety. I was Chakarame trying Oboreo to book in order to drive off this anxiety. I began to study with a ferocious momentum. Then I waited come for the data publicly to the world the results. But to forcibly cook their purpose. Waiting for the day to be achieved of forcibly its purpose is unpleasant because it is a lie. I can no longer bear to really fill the mind some at the book. I began looking at the world with his arms folded. My wife seemed not observe it with the isla comes to mind because not bothered to today. On the also about parent-child 2 people the house of his wife there is a property within easy life either way whether they are sitting. I also because I was in the circumstances there is no permissible without asking the profession. Most also to think so. I also let there are somewhat spoiled the feeling. But the cause of the main things that I no longer work is. It was not there at all. I at the time was deceived by his uncle. There is no difference in the felt to thoroughly that does not become the other asked. There is only take bad the other. He had the feeling still sure. The world is also trying to do arrow as this of his own in the belief that it is a worthy man was somewhere. It has been destroyed and busy for K. When I was also aware that it is the same person with that uncle. I was suddenly dizzy. I was because of disaffection with her other. It became stuck in Tsukashi the amiable even to myself. 53. I was not been able to make myself buried alive in the book. Soak the soul to wine. There is also time an attempt is made to forget his own I do not say that I like wine, but because I was a drink if drinkable quality. It just was Chakarame trying to crush prime the heart to ask the amount. This superficial expedient has me. It should be noted that the pessimistic Wayu for a while. I am true most of Lanzui is suddenly then noticed to his or her position in the yourself will on purpose to this kind of imitate you notice that it's Gubutsu that falsely himself. Then the eye and mind awake along with the only blowing. Sometimes no matter how you come out even if you drink also go to sinking recklessly and not enter even. In this fancy dress state, thereon after buying a pleasantly and finesses, is there surely Chinat's recoil. I have my most love his wife and their mother who is. I had to show there at any time, and they will take to interpret me from their natural position. Wife of the mother is sometimes seem to say to his wife that the clumsy care. It his wife had hidden me. However, yourself on your own. It seems like mind was sorry if not blame me alone. Even though the blame, by no means strong words, because they were told something from his wife. An example that I was intense it is because much as was little. My wife asked me to say do not hesitate, often how as do not like. Then we advised stop at my future wine. Sometimes crying, you are this time human being different, has been referred to as. Though I still say if you just, you that if Mr. K is not alive, you also would have had so much. I had be answered might do so. And the meaning that my answer was, because I was quite different from the meaning that approval of his wife. But I was sad in his heart. But I did not bring myself also explained everything to his wife. I mashi sometimes chamari to his wife. It was laid back the next day morning drunk in many sake. My wife laughed, or it was silent. There was also occasionally flake to be dropping tears. I myself was not unbearable unpleasant either way. So cha circle is given to my wife. It becomes myself to cha round of capital that is the same thing. I was stopped at length sake. Rather than stopping at the advice of his wife. Would be adequate is better to say that was stopped because I became sick on their own. Although alcohol was stopped, it should not be bothered to do anything. Read the book from helped. But I read it if you read. Layout doing. I received often the question of whether to study for anything from his wife. I just had been smile. However, in the bottom of the belly, Of only one person, yourself in the world has the most bhakti human beings even. And I think do not understand their own. I was sad. Although there's a means to understand. I was more and more sad to think that he does not put out the courage to understand. I was lonely. It was also often that be disconnected in the gas. Such as live only one person in the world from anywhere. At the same time I thought again and again the cause of death of K. The current let's also do head was dominated by just one letter of love. But my observation was rather simple and straight. K as I had extremely soon as those that died for properly broken heart. However, in the mood, which gradually fell with, looking toward the same phenomenon, it came not seem to arrive or so easily solve. Reality in the ideal of the collision, but still was still insufficient. I began to doubt whether would not then at length K as a result it is no longer the way to Seibishiku, with just one person like me, was persists suddenly to Kokoro. Then also it was Lee, but I also the road that walked K. Premonition that he has gotten in the same way as K is. Because I started the zero crossing seasons next to my chest like the wind. 54. Among them was the diagnosis that it is not far from healing at all, and should the mother of the wife became sick doctor I was yari to the nursing a kindnesses. Long as the reach of the force which is to is also the order of the sick person's own. In addition there was also for the wife to love, it says from a larger meaning. Finally did for the man. Although I'm not unbearable by Taku, something also so far. It is not possible to do anything must have been a forced Fudoku was disconnected from the world I am. The first time out of the hand from his was at this time to give the awareness that was that good even in somewhat an expiation, but it must be named. I was dominated by a kind of mood. My mother died. My wife and I are now only two people cut. Wife toward me. Told me the thing is no longer only one person to rely on in the coming world. That cannot be relied upon even myself. I was Namitagumi and voluntarily look at the face of his wife. Then I thought that it was unfortunate woman his wife. In addition, it says also out to the mouth that it is unfortunate woman. My wife will hear that it is why. The wife you my meaning is not known. I also cannot all explain it. My wife cried. I have to have observed her in the idea that twisted from the unremitting was resentment, and he is also referred to such a thing. After the death of my mother, I was yari kindly dealt with as far as possible wife. However, there is no just because I love the person. I of the kind seems to have had more wide background off the Giren. Just the same meaning as the nursing of his wife's mother. My heart seems like moved. My wife looked ish satisfaction, but in one of its satisfaction, dilute that it was vaguely occur in order to not understand me seemed to have been included. Somewhere, however, where the wife was were able to understand me. This thing insufficient as the I did not care about that also reduced the increase. Then the love that comes from the standpoint of large humanitarian to the woman. Condensing happy once nature kindness to be dispensed to only myself somewhat out of the law. Because it seems as stronger than man. When there is a wife, was called a wonder that not accustomed to one really snugly is a man of heart and a woman of heart. I leave the ambiguous reply would become if time just young. My wife seemed to be watching to reflect on your past, but was leaked to eventually faint sigh. In my chest I was inspiration is sometimes terrible shadow from the hour and minute. Initially, it is by chance, you come to attack from the outside. I was surprised. I was horrified. However, in that after a while, my mind is now as a root to its tremendous inspiration. At length is also not come from the outside. I came out seemed to as though lurking from the time of birth to the bottom of his chest every time. I become such a mood. His head tried to suspects would not then was somehow. But I did not take myself to get seen to anyone to doctor. I just felt deeply the things that humans sin. That feeling is let go each month me to the grave of K. The feeling is to me in the nursing of the wife's mother. Then that feeling tells me that I'm unkind to my wife. I am for that feeling. You may also be thought from the people of the roadside. I do not know to want to be song whip. While these stairs go progressively past, then that song whip in person. Whip yourself on your own, you will feel that should depression. Then the whip shoot myself. Happens the idea that we should kill myself. I am from not be helped. I decided to let live and I feel dead. I will be many years until today from the so decided. I came to live liking the original street relationship with me and the wife. By no means unhappy with me and the wife. It was happiness. But at one point that I have. Easy orchid, this one point to me is. It always seems to have appeared in the darkness to his wife. When I think of it, I feel very sorry for the wife. 55. My mind was decided to let live in going dead. Sometimes was odorigari in the outside world of the stimulation. But I think about to leave cut to any direction or stand as soon as out how terrible force from anywhere come. My you do not move even a little clasp jerking the heart. Then the force will let go to give suppressed that it is also not a man entitled to what you to me. Then I will get wilting immediately or at its word. When you stand up again after a while, also will be tightened. I clench teeth, and give yelling and do with whether the other way. Mysterious force is cold. I laugh in such a voice, called a habit that you know well yourself. You will or I will straddle. Tumultuous also to my inner surface came to continue the monotonous life no bent. You should always think that there is such a painful war. Before Hage you want to see my wife. It is about myself. Do not know whether came piled up many layers twice impatient I think. When I can no longer it really is that you are coagulation in this prison. And when that is no longer able to break through the jail really. What can be accomplished in the most effortless effort for Beijing I would not on the outside then. Suicide I began to feel. You do not know why and say to the Iru Kumo. Always the mysterious terrible force to come to the clasped my heart. While retaining eating my activities in every direction. Only the freely road of death it keeps open for. Somehow if you are in does not move. Or more to move even a little. Am I in proceed so there is no must proceed to walk that road. I have it tried to Susumo to already to most comfortable direction that will lead the 3 times fate to this day. But I was attracted by the mind to his wife at any time. Then we do not of course the courage to take his wife together. Since my wife and I as a much cannot be confide everything. As a sacrifice of their own destiny. Rough gesture that's such as take away the natural death of the wife. I was afraid even to think. As to me there is my destiny. The wife there Migoria Wasi wife. The Kusu Beirut to the fire in the one bundle the 2 people. Even when viewed from the point of impossible. Seems only to me the painful extreme did not. It was indeed pity and try to imagine his wife after only I was gone at the same time. When the dead mother, I is nothing to count on in the coming world of her recalled that said that was no longer outside. Then I am. I had been to be stored so as to go stain in the intestine. I have always hesitated. Look at the face of his wife. There was also think that it was good sealed. Then also will ensue and coagulation. Then we can look at from time to time thing insufficient likely I from his wife. Please memory. I had come to live in like this. Even when the first time I met you in Kamakura. Even when you walk in the suburbs together with you. We much change was not of my mood. I at any time a black shadow behind was equipped with enclosed. I am for my wife. It is like was walking the world dragged life. You could be the same thing when you go back to the country after graduating. I do not have then lied that was promised to meet after audition to you as in September. I had in mind to meet it all. Fall away. Come winter. Even if run out of the winter. I had the intention surely meet. Then Emperor Meiji in hot prime summer is now demise. At that time I felt like was done to the emperor spirit of Meiji began in the emperor. The most strongly are affected by the Meiji, feeling that it by jink the times delayer then survived banged vigorously my chest I was so good to his wife and obvious clients. My wife did not scramble to laugh. But what would I thought? There were very well intense a tone gio once you have even a sudden to me. In martyrdom. 56. I had forgotten most of the word martyrdom, because it does not require the character to use hero. Remains sank to the bottom of memory. You will see in what was overwrought. When I remembered it began to hear a meeting of wife. If I myself if poured the wife to martyrdom. Replied and I'm going to martyrdom in the spirit of the Meiji. My answer was only a matter of course a meeting. I somehow old unnecessary words at that time I mood, such as obtain prime a new significance was in. Then we have passed for about 1 month. Night of boss funeral I sat as usual study. I heard the signal gun of the phase diagram. I had heard as of the informing it that the Meiji had left forever. Given later, it had also become the notification had left forever of Nogi General. I have to hand the extra edition. Was good to be involuntarily martyrdom to his wife. I have read what Went wrote before dying of Nogi General in the newspaper. Since the enemy strikeouts are the flag at the time of the Southwest War. Thinking of death would have died because of the sorry when I saw the phrase of meaning that was alive until just today. I involuntarily broke his finger. Nogi Mr. Sa to account the years came alive while prepared to die. Since the Satsuma Rebellion is 1,877 years. Until 1,912 years there's a distance 35 years. Nogi's thought I would have died during the 315 years. I seemed to waiting for die opportunity. I took on such a person. Whether alive have been 35 years is painful. Also one moment is painful that Tsukate to the belly of the sword. Which is I thought it would be painful. Then 2. Then 3 days. I made up my mind to finally suicide. Mios Nogi's the reason why the dead is not well understood. But you also might is not Namikum apparent reason for my suicide. In that it is if so. It is the way because of human differences come from the times of transition there is none. Or more. Such as differences in personality that was born with the Kiren it is not may be sure. Me thinks that this mysterious me is possible to the eye. So as to know to you. I'm going did their treasury re in the narrative of until now. I will continue to leave his wife. I am happy for there is no worry about food, clothing and shelter to the wife no longer I have. I do not like giving a cruel odor akiko to his wife. I'm going to die not show the color of blood to his wife. Well without the knowledge of his wife. So that you will not have from secretly this world. After I died, I'd like to think that it has a sudden death from his wife. I satisfactory even been considered mad. To be continued. Thank you for your viewing. If you like please subscribe to the channel. I am very encouraged.